What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, and I'm black up in your face again with some more pro black commentary. I just wanted to say to my sisters out there, thank you, thank you very much. Thank you from saving me from the clutches of Becky. And some of you are probably asking, like, what am I talking about in this video? So, a couple of weeks ago, I made a video called "My Brothers Don't Date Black Girls," and basically I was responding or just giving you my thoughts on a video I saw of a young black woman on social media saying that her actual biological brothers do not date black women either her shade or darker. And a lot of the women in the comments section were saying that my brothers don't even date black women, period, of any color, any shade. They all got girlfriends or spouses who are either white or some other color, just non-black. So I just gave my opinion on it, and I talked about one of the reasons for a lot of that is the propaganda that is put on black people as a whole, where it makes it seem as if the white woman is angelic, where she's the only beauty standard, and this is pumped into our heads from birth. So this is why we get those results in the doll test, where a little black girl or a little black boy will say that the black doll is ugly and the white doll is pretty. It's because of that overt propaganda and that brainwashing that takes place in black people from a very young age. And I feel that when black men get older and it comes time to start picking a mate, they'll see black women around them as in the same poor circumstances or in the same racial circumstances as they are, or so they'll see the white woman as an upgrade from that, in a way to get away from that racial oppression of just being black. So they'll almost see the white woman as a way out. And like I said, white women are always portrayed as angelic and beautiful. Black women always have this stigma around them, no matter what capacity you might see them in. But I want to personally thank the sisters out there for making sure that I never fell into that trap. Because first, I'll just say, the black women in my own life, like my mother, my sister, all my cousins, my grandmother, thank you for presenting a great vision of black womanhood, so that I would never think that all black women were bad or ignorant or whatever. Even when I got into situations like starting in middle school, where I would have interactions with black women that might have been negative, I always still had that positive reinforcement around me, that it never got to the point where I would say that I hated black women, or black women were all bad. Okay. And likewise, to a lot of the girls that I knew either in high school or even in college, like I was always that guy that hung out with a lot of girls. Not saying that I had a lot of girlfriends, but uh, I always knew a lot of girls and a lot of black girls, because I was one of the few guys that was willing to listen to them. So this is probably why I have some insight as to dating and relationships, because I listen a lot. I was always, I guess you can say, I was that quiet guy. I've always been an introvert, but to a lot of people, they know that I'll actually sit there and legitimately listen to what they have to say. I don't just talk over them or wait for my turn to talk. So even by my senior year, I sat at the table with the black girls. So I would always hear what was going on in school, or with other guys or whatever. I always heard that first because of that. Okay, so uh, you know, it gave me more of an insight, and I appreciate a lot of those black women, because even when I was a freshman, there were a lot of black girls who were older than me who taught me a lot. In well, I was going to say in more ways than one, but that I don't want to be vulgar in that regard. But I would say a lot of them were always very sweet to me. They always looked out for me, and like I said, they always taught me a lot just about relationships and how they can go and what can happen. Okay, uh, what to look out for as far as like not being around the wrong type of woman. So I can always say that I appreciate the black women that have been in my life. So in that regard, I've also never been in a position where I say I hate black women or I don't like black women. Yes, I've run into some extremely ignorant ones. Don't get me wrong. So for all those fellas out there that are hearing my voice, I've been in contact and been around and got into arguments with some of the most ignorant, airheaded, bubble-headed black women you could ever believe. Okay, but the majority of my experiences with black women have always been positive. So in that regard, thank you to the sisters out there for helping me have that positive image so I do not fall into the idea that Becky is my only alternative. And this is coming from a black man who is a nerd, who's always, well, see, I guess I don't qualify sometimes. Like sometimes I think back on it, and while I am personally a nerdy person who's into sci-fi and reading books and working with computers and whatnot, I've always been a big guy as well. So I was also an athlete at the same time. So maybe it's kind of hard for me to just kind of put myself in a certain category because I know all males are not in that. So I was still somewhat physically appealing to black girls, being tall and being an athlete. So it's not like I was just in a category where it was all nerdy. But, like I said, I always had a nerdy disposition. So, so I'm trying to be as logical as possible and trying to be as thoughtful as possible to anyone who might listen to this video so they don't think it's all roses. I can understand from your perspective, maybe you weren't in that position as I was. But like I said before, overwhelmingly, most of my experiences with black women have been very positive. And I also wanted to, in my other video, I talked about a lot of the white girls in pop culture who are considered the epitome of white women. And I told you, even at a very young age, they almost got me with the superhero and the sci-fi shows like, with Linda Carter and Aaron Gray on Buck Rogers, showing me that this is the epitome of white womanhood or womanhood and sexuality. So I should like this. And I wanted to say that there are some black women in entertainment who shattered that notion quickly. And two of the ones that I remember from my very early years were Bernadette Stanis, who played Thelma on Good Times, and Pam Grier. And seeing those two black women with their especially with their natural hair, having the afro and everything, and just how beautiful and how sweet they were, that right there at a very young age, I was like, black women is where it's at for me. I just that's kind of where I was. That's probably why even till today, I still love natural hair. I love to see the natural afro or the braids on a black woman because of those two women in particular. So, thank you to Bernadette Stanis and thank you to Pam Grier for making me a lover of black women with their natural hair. Okay, like that's one of the things. Like I brought that up to my wife when we first were dating, and she had her hair permed back then, but she switched over to a natural for me. I think personally, but she enjoys having it as well. But I mean, she kind of she kind of made my fantasies come true to being married to a black woman with an afro. So thank you to those sisters in particular, because like I said, they were the first to kind of change my mind as far as what the beauty standard could be. You see what I'm saying? So, even though I have positive black women around me in my family, obviously I'm not looking at them in that manner. So seeing women like Pam Grier and seeing Bernadette Stanis every week on Good Times, that changed my whole perception of what beauty could be. And it's been on and popping since then. I'll say that as far as my love of black women. And going on later on with Felicia Rashad playing Claire Huxtable on, the Cosby Show. Even though obviously she was way older than me, she was definitely old enough to be my mother. Even as a child, I saw her as beautiful. I always saw her. That's the kind of black woman I want to aspire to, like, marry when I got older. That's how I saw her. back then because I always thought she was very pretty. And, she always exuded great confidence and a lot of class as a woman while also being extremely beautiful. So, thank you to that sister because she's always done that and put that out there as, that whole aura of being a smart, accomplished black woman who's also very beautiful. So she was very easy to fall in love with. I know a lot of guys out there who also had crushes on Claire Huxtable and loved her and thought how great she was. And like I said, that character embodied a lot of what our visions for a wife would be. She wasn't just the typical home wife for Cliff Huxtable. She was an equal to him in a good way. You know, yeah, she would put people in their place, and they would kind of go back and forth. But I always got the sense that she never disrespected her husband. She always had respect for him, no matter what. Even when he did extremely silly things, which sometimes as men we all do. My wife and I have a very similar relationship. Okay, but there's always that respect there, and I always appreciated seeing that on the Cosby Show. The Cosby Show was a great visual for a lot of young people out there who may not have had uh, maybe two black parents or whatever. They could see how two black parents should function. You know, I thought that was always great. Now, Good Times had that, and I stopped watching Good Times when they killed off James Evans. I thought that was traumatic to me as a young person to see that, and I hated the show after that. But seeing that on the Cosby Show, seeing a functional black relationship, I always thought was a great thing to see. And Claire Huxtable, played by Felicia Rashad, was always a great example of black womanhood, and she made a difference in my life, and I always thank her for that. So moving on to some other black female celebrities that are more my age or within my own age group, I would say that the three that I loved the most when I was a teenage boy was Michelle Thomas, she played Theo's girlfriend on the Cosby Show, but she also was probably more known for playing Myra Monkhouse on Family Matters, where she was Steve Urkel's girlfriend, and she was absolutely gorgeous. The other ones were Maya Campbell, who was on that show. I think it was called In the House or whatever, and the other one was Reagan Gomez Preston, who was on The Parenthood. So those three girls in particular, they were like my teen love crushes on black TV shows. And once again, like I said, they kind of kept me on a straight and narrow as far as putting black women higher up on my pedestal than any other type of woman. I love those girls. Uh, and when I say that, I will say it was very innocent in that regard, because when I still think back on those times and having crushes on those girls or having their pictures on my wall, it brings back a smile to my face, because like it's like teenage innocence at that point. Uh, but yeah, like Michelle Thomas, she was always beautiful. She was very cute, and most guys like myself, nerdy guys like myself, dreamed of having a girlfriend like Maya Monkhouse who loved us for our intelligence. Like that, I can never understand why Steve Urkel never wanted or loved Myra and still pined after Laura disrespected him on so many occasions. I just couldn't understand it. If I had a girl like Myra, my life would be fantastic. So, like I said, that was like a dream girl for a lot of nerdy black guys like myself. Like I said, I just couldn't understand what Steve Urkel's problem was. I wanted to smack him upside his head half the time, every time I saw him reject her, especially by the end. I mean, that show, Family Matters, kind of jumped the shark by then. It became the Urkel show. So by that point, I had stopped watching it anyway. And then once again, you have like Maya Campbell, a beautiful dark-skinned black girl. I remember the first time I started watching that show because of her. Like I never really paid it much attention until I saw a glimpse of her on there, and I started watching that show. I was like, good God, this woman is gorgeous. And I understand she's had a lot of problems later on in life. Sad to say, with drugs and substance abuse and everything else. I have seen her recently. She does look a lot better. She looks like she's cleaned up a little bit, and I wish her nothing but the best. But as far as, you know, being someone who inspired me and my love for black women, especially being a girl who has dark skin, she was absolutely gorgeous in my opinion. You couldn't tell me she wasn't. And I know a lot of guys who also who loved her a lot as well. Once again, the other one was Reagan Gomez Preston, another girl that the only reason I really even watched that show, The Parenthood, was because of her. I thought she was so cute and adorable. And she actually was funny. She actually kind of looks like my the black girl that I dated during my the towards the end of my senior year. Like if I could just change her eye color, like the girl that I dated naturally had light gray eyes, but uh, Reagan Gomez Preston does not have that, but the girl I dated did, and she had kind of the same skin tone, the same kind of hairstyles, and you know, just that brings back good memories. I'll just say that, okay. But I always thought she was beautiful as well. Happy to see that she has a beautiful family, and things are kind of working out for her. I know she doesn't get as many big acting roles anymore. Like she still does TV and, you know, a few TV shows here and there. But I'm glad that, you know, things have worked out in a positive way. And you know, going back to Michelle Thomas, sad to say she did pass away from cancer. That was a very sad occasion when she did pass away from I think she had stomach cancer if I'm not mistaken. But like I said, she'll always live on as the black teen beauty in our minds. So those were the big three for me. And you know, moving on, you know, I'm sure there were other girls, but those are the ones that stick out of my head from my younger years. You folks, let me know in the comments section if there are any black women celebrities who kind of made you the lovers of black women that you are today. I know a lot of brothers will probably have some different opinions, or you know, they might have some different women that they're thinking of based on the age group. You can you can almost tell what age we're at just by the women that we loved or whatever. But uh, you know, there are a lot of great black women in our own lives. There are a lot of great black women that we saw maybe in entertainment that, you know, kept us away from the lice and the lousiness of the Beckys out there. And some of us, it might even been that you might have even tried to date a Becky and just had a bad experience. So I can understand that as well. There's some black men who have told me that personally, or have even left comments that said they attempted to date a Becky and it was such a terrible experience they'll never do it again. That's also a great lesson to learn as well, as long as it doesn't end in something terrible happening to you, of course. But you know that, you know, I've sort of had that experience. Like while I was still never really into white girls, I did go out on a date with one, and that was kind of like the last time I would ever do that, just based on that date. And it wasn't bad, but it was just like she expected me to be a stereotype, and I was like, I'm not. Okay, like 50 Cent was popular at that time, so I was like, I'm not that. I'm not G Unit. Okay, it doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter that I'm in shape. I'm not that, and I'm never going to act like that. Okay, so I'm not letting you live out your little thug mandingo fantasies on me. So, like I said, that's a bad experience, and see, that's the problem that I would have with white females, that they expect you to be some sort of stereotype in some shape, form, or fashion. Only a black woman has ever been able to truly understand me and the issues I've had to deal with as a black man. Becky doesn't understand that. So that's why, another reason why I always was more attached and more spiritually in love with a black woman. I've always rather been with black women, even the more ignorant ones, because at least some of those I can pull them out of their ignorance by just sitting there talking to them. I'd rather deal with that than deal with uh, freckle-faced, lice-headed Becky. So you guys let me know in the comment section how you feel about it. Let me know maybe the list of the black women that you loved on TV, or just your positive experiences with black women. And, you know, just make sure you keep it positive in the comment section. And make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Anyway, once again, to the sisters out there, thank you. And this is Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on these devils' back.